uh, application. So application onboarding is something we're going to cover today. Okay, so basically, as of now, what we have learned, we have done the installation of IIQ. So after installation of IIQ, now we have identity IQ system. So like I covered in the first session, so identity IQ can't work standalone. It need to connect with the different system, right? To do the provisioning and aggregation, source point of view, target point of view. So the first system which we're gonna onboard to SailPoint is very important, which is SAP system. So it's a SAP HR or any kind of HR system, right? From where the data will come to our system. So trusted source, how the data is going to get populated inside the SailPoint system. So that's something we're gonna do today. So it could be any kind of application. It could be JD application. It could be a simple flat file. It could
Mm.
be a
Ac-
SAP system.
Actually, sorry to interrupt. I need one clarity. So application onboarding in the sense, as you said, it's pulling out the data from the HR, some maybe a different HR tool, different
Mhm.
companies use a different HR tool.
Right,
So
right.
basically, it will get import via some connectors, right?
Yes, so that is something we're gonna use connector for that. So different kind
Okay,
of
fine. So
application. So yeah, SailPoint do support
yeah,
different kind of connector. So connector is nothing but the already built piece of code. So that code will help to perform different kind of operations to get the data from that system and to send the data to that particular system.
okay, fine. Now we are going to see about the application onboarding is some systems which are going to provisioning, right? So, for example, if the organization is using from around 50 to 100 applications, so we are talking about that, so which is we are going to do end-to-end provisioning activities. So, is that right?
So basically, we are going to talk about application. So how applications work. So application is a system, right? So it's not like
Yeah.
we're going to do the provisioning in the target system, but how identity will get created in the sale point. So HR will send the data to our system. So that thing we'll talk about today.
Okay.
Okay, so that is again application onboarding. Okay, so we'll talk about that aspect. Okay,
Okay.
so now let's say somebody joins the organization. So let's say A dot B has joined the organization today. So that user should be present in SailPoint. So that's the application onboarding. We're gonna onboard that application in SailPoint so we can fetch those record inside the SailPoint. Okay, so that's our topic for today, application. So I'll just go to that thing. What is you can see on my screen, right? This application. So here we need to come to application definition. So here we can come and we can create any application. So one application is already present in my system, which is HR employee. So same way, if you want to create any application, so you just need to come to and click here, add new application. So once you click on add new application, you're gonna see this kind of form. So this form is present and it will show different kind of application which you can connect with SailPoint as a source or as a target. So the most important thing here is the application type. So this is nothing but the connector thing which we were talking about. If you see here, right? So here you can see these are different kind of connector which SailPoint do provide out of the box. So you click on any of this uh, type of application, automatically the complete UI will change. This one right now you can see only details here, right? So as soon as you click on something like a cloud gateway, right? So it will process something and it will create altogether configuration correlation, different kind of tabs. And you will see for each and every application type, you will see different thing inside the configuration also. It's not going to be the same for each and every application. Okay, so that's a high level thing on the application side. So application which we're gonna onboard as a standard application from HR is the one. So many of the system which are like uh, what they want to use as a system is like they want to create as a simple text file data to IDM system. So what they will do, whatever format they are storing in their system, so they will pull one extract from their system and they'll put in one shared location in the form of CSV file. So all the data will come under CSV file, and then CSV file data we will process in Sailpoint. So that's how this process works for most of the HR system. But like JDBC connector and some Workday, those applications we have direct integration as well. In that case, we don't need a flat file or delimited file in that case. Okay, so if you see here, um, I have selected application time as delimited file here. Although I have one application already onboarded, which is HR employee, but still for like demo purpose, I'll show you one more application which we are going to onboard. We'll see if we're gonna face any challenge or not while we can do that. But let's see. Add new application. Here we'll select the application type, which is delimited file. So yeah, before we come here, we need to have the source data, right, which we want to onboard to the system. So I have created one file. Okay, so this data I did upload some time back, and this is the new data which we are going to onboard now. Okay, so it,
Yeah, actually,
yeah,
these kind of data and all, we no need to worry about that, right? Because this is application which is we are going to onboard on Sailpoint, so it will already available in the
right,
organization.
that is correct. So this data will always be available, as well as this data will keep on modifying and we don't need to worry about it. So let's say right now we can see only 10 records here, right? So maybe next day when we'll open this file, we can see 11th record as well, because that's how the system is keep on updating. So they are creating new users, right, in their system. So like you said, it's absolutely correct. So we don't need to worry about this data. So we just want to make sure this is a trusted data for us. So whatever data is here, that's the absolute correct data.
Okay, fine. So it will keep on change once it's updated. But how come it will work in Sailpoint? It will get automatically get updated um,
Yeah,
because we
so
said
we'll
now.
come to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have the task. So we'll just come to that part only. So we have
Okay.
tasks which will keep on running every day and which will check if there's any update in this file, it will just populate in our system.
Fine.
Yeah, we'll come to that. Basically, right now, let's focus on this thing. This is the trusted source for us, where you can see this is the header, like first name, last name, display name, email, and type, right? This is the header, and this is the data which we can see here. Okay, so these are 10 records which we do have. So if you see, this is the other file which I did some time back. So here we have some data, but it's I have modified this file, the second one. Earlier it was Thomas Lee, but now I changed Thomas 1 Lee, right? So all these records are right now present in Identity IQ. Earlier in last demo, you have seen only the SP admin account was present in Identity Warehouse, but now these 10 accounts are also present. And once we go ahead with this demo, so we'll see these accounts will also be present. Okay, this is something we're gonna onboard. Okay, so first step is to create this file just for demo purpose, but in actual business scenario, we are not going to create this file. This will be shared by the target team. Okay, coming next is the one application creation. So inside application creation, so we'll give some name. So let's say we'll give it HR people. Okay, so earlier was the HR employees, so that's new name. So HR people we have given, and owner is something we're gonna keep as our system administrator, which is SP admin, and then application time is delimited file. And because this is the authoritative source for us, authoritative source is the trusted application. If it's a target application where we're going to do the provisioning, then we are not going to select this one. But here in our case, this is our trusted source where we are going to get the data. Okay, so that's why we have selected this option, authoritative application. So that's all we have to do on this first page. Next is the configuration. Inside configuration, you can see settings. Inside settings, first thing we need to give the file path, because a delimited file. So we'll give that path, and then accordingly it will try fetching that. We have to work with that team. So first thing we need to have that knowledge about the different kind of applications. So let's say when we are working, so uh, let me come here. See here, right? So we know there are many different kind of applications which we want to create, right? So let's say they are coming up with a database application. So we know if this is database application, we have to use a JDBC connector, right? So JDBC is the kind of terminology which we use. So we'll select JDBC here, right? If it's a AD based application, we should know it's a LDAP kind of application. So these are the things which we will get to know with the knowledge with the time. Okay, some of them are very handy, like IBM DB2. So these are the specific database. So those are also configured. So if it's Linux based, so we can configure this one. So this way we need to get to know. But thing is that as soon as the CSV file comes, and which is very popular application for Sailpoint, so we know CSV is the delimited file. Delimited file itself is comma separate files. Okay, so this is something you will learn with the time. What are the terminology which we use in Sailpoint? Okay, and most common type of applications I'll just tell you. So these are not very common. So Active Directory Direct, that's the first application. I'll just cover it up so you will understand, right? What are the most common thing which we use? So Active Directory Direct is the first application, which is the Active Directory based application. So they do have the connector. You need to choose this if you're dealing with Active Directory. Then coming to next is the Azure Active Directory. So if it's a Azure based Active Directory, you can choose this application. Next is delimited file, which we're working right now. Then coming next is not, these are also not important, rarely being used. JDBC, this is very important application. If you are working with a database, then we have to choose JDBC application. Then LDAP is the other LDAP protocol, right? If you're working on the LDAP, then choose this one. Then coming to Microsoft SQL Server, if it's a SQL based server, then you can choose this one. Coming to next is what are the most popular. These are not very rarely we use. So SAP is the other important thing, SAP Direct, right? So if some application are SAP Direct, SAP GRC, SAP HANA, these are the most common SAP HR, right? These are the most SAP related application which we use. So any target application who want to integrate with you, you just choose these applications from here. ServiceNow is also very popular application. So SailPoint do provide ServiceNow connector. If you want to do the provisioning, you can use ServiceNow connector. Okay. Coming next is a web service. So this is very important. So any application which is web service based, so you can use web service here. Okay. So that's the other one. Okay. So these are the main application which you can refer. Coming back to our application onboarding here. So if you see here, I have given this path. Okay. So this is the application name, auth data one CSV file. So once this is given, this is delimited file, and then we'll give comma here, which is the delimiter for this. As you can see here, right, this file data is separated by comma. It's a comma separate value. So this comma is the one which is defining each and every attribute in this file. So that's why we have given comma here. Okay, so so next is file has column header on the first line, so we'll see that. Next we'll come to schema. Okay, inside schema, we will schema is nothing but the different attributes which target system to have. Okay, so all the attributes. So when I'm saying attribute, okay, so that's the one we are talking about here, schema. So if you see here, inside the schema, we have this one, describer schema attribute. So we need to click on this. As soon as it is able to reach to that file, it will populate all the different kind of variables. think it's not taking. Let me go back, create a new one. So HR people owner is admin, then application type is delimited file, authoritative source. Okay, it's just refreshed. So authoritative source, and then coming to configuration. Here we need to give the path. Okay, so delimit file, files contain header in first line. Select this, and then we'll come to schema, insert schema. Let's do the discover. You're saying unable to discover account schema of the application. Okay, I didn't select delimiter, right? So that's why. So delimiter was the comma here. Coming back to schema, again we do discover schema. Okay. So once I did click on this discover schema attribute, so we are able to see all those attributes, right? First name, last name, display name, email, and type. Everything we can see here. So these are the different attributes which has been discovered by inside schema. So now a native object is in account by default. So it's a account kind of application. There's a one more type account object type is group, which we'll talk about later. But other two attributes which are important, which we need to set is a display attribute and the identity attribute. So what we'll do, we'll just come here on display name and we'll click on edit. And here we'll say set as identity attribute, set as display attribute. Okay, and save it. So you can see this has been populated as a display attribute, display name. So once this is done, we'll click on preview. So once we're gonna click on preview, we can see all the records right from that file. So if we have like 10,000 records or something, it is not going to show all the records. It will just show initial 10 lines. That's it. So it is just to get the preview how the data look like in the target system. Okay, so that's what we can see here, just a preview, but it's not onboarded to Sailpoint yet. So once this is done, what we'll do, we'll just click on save. So now schema has been set currently. So I click on HR people. Under HR people configuration, again schema, we can see everything is set it up what we did. So other thing what we'll do, we'll come to settings and file will just do a test connection. Test connection will make sure like we are able to read this file. So test connection successful. It means we are able to work with the system. So this test connection is very important when we work with different kind of applications. Sometimes there's some firewall issue, there's some port changes right in target system. So test connection will not work. So that's always as a part of monitoring support team. Keep on clicking on test connection to make sure if there's any issue. If there's any issue, they will report to the target system. Okay, so we'll click on this save button. So it means our application is ready right now, HR people. So what is our next step for these people to onboard here? So right, if you see here under identity warehouse, we can see only 11 identities. One was the is okay, I'll get back here. So so one was a system admin which was there initially when we did the installation, and rest 10 was the one which I did create last time. But those identities which we have just created HR people as application name, those are not present in Sailpoint yet. Okay, so what is our next step? Let me go to the document. So I have covered everything, right? I want to make sure. So this is a new application we have. Yeah.
Even just one question. So what right now we have did is we have onboarded them. No, looks like users information, right? First name, last name. But the application is something different, I believe, because see, for example, if I'm browsing any application, that application requires a login, and entire application should be onboarded in that Sailpoint. I'm not sure because I just want that clarity. I can understand this report, but what is the base? I'm not getting much clarity.
Could you please come again? Basically, you're saying we are onboarding users' data, but what is your
Yeah.
question? I didn't get it properly.
Yeah, my question is, what about the application? Because we are just onboard the user's data, right? The
Uh-huh.
application is something different, right? So the day-to-day business of we are logging and working, which is that is called application, right?
I think Vinay, he's getting confused when you are saying application on board in SailPoint. So usually, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but in SailPoint, when we call application onboarding, we mean the migrating data from one application to another application, or from source to target, right? Right, Vinay?
Yes. So basically, application, like I told you initially, right? So SailPoint is the middle component. So middle component, there's a source of, there's only one application most of the time. So there could be two or three application as well, which will work as a source for identity IQ. So that's we'll say authoritative application. Okay. So application is of two types. One is authoritative application. Second is a target application. From authoritative application, we'll get the users in SailPoint, and from SailPoint, we will do the provisioning to the target application. Okay. All the
Okay,
application will create here itself under application definition, whether it's an authoritative application or target application. So when we do talk about authoritative application, we're gonna select this option. If it's not selected, it's by default the target application. So right
okay,
now, what we are working on one of the application, which is an authoritative application, and all the users who belongs to that application, we are onboarding to SailPoint. Okay. It's
okay,
not user we are onboarding those application users. है ना? So
okay. Yeah,
data we
that's
are
what.
onboarding
Yeah,
to those. Go ahead.
yeah. So who are all the basically the who are all what the users using that application and have access for that application, that we have that database, and we are just onboarding it into
Exactly. So real time scenario I'll give you, like if somebody is joining an organization, right? So what will happen? So firstly, the account will get created in the HR system, right? HR is the one
yeah,
who will generate users, whether user is a contractor, whether user is an employee. They will
yeah,
add user
basic
first name,
information.
last name, employee ID, basic information, email address also, right? So
Yeah,
they will fill it up. So they are not going to fill it up in the sale point, the data. So they will fill in the HR
yeah,
system. So that HR system need to be linked with sale point, right? So if
yeah,
this will be linked to SailPoint, only then SailPoint can do provisioning to multiple 50 systems. Okay. Unless
okay,
until SailPoint doesn't have that source of data, how it will do the provisioning in different system, right? So that's where
yeah,
we are talking about the HR system right now.
yeah, that's right.
Okay. So now we can see the application we have done. So next step is basically we're gonna do the aggregation. I told aggregation and provisioning, right? Any question, any doubt anyone do have about the aggregation? So this terminology is very important. Aggregation and provisioning, these two are our main focus is going to be. So please feel
Yeah,
free to ask
uh,
question.
yeah. Actually, aggregation I don't know, but provisioning I know about that provisioning,
Yeah,
but that aggregation I
provisioning is
know.
basically any data which is going from SailPoint to any system, any third party system, that's a provisioning. Any data which is coming from third party system to SailPoint, that's the aggregation.
Oh, okay, okay,
Okay. So inflow is aggregation, outflow is provisioning. So now what we're gonna do, we want to do the aggregation. So now we have just created one application. The name is HR people, but we want to aggregate those users to SailPoint. As of now, you are seeing here, right? Those users are not here. So it means those are not aggregated. So still we don't have those users. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to setup, click on task. So under task, we're gonna create new task. I'll show you actually task is already created, or I can do one thing. I'll create a new task. So under new task, account aggregation. This is the out of the box provided feature from Sailpoint. Click on account aggregation, give some name. We'll say HR aggregate HR people users. Okay. So now what is next? So select application to scan. So just now we did create application, right? So we're gonna give that application name. We can see these two applications are coming in. R is HR people. We'll click on HR people, and then that's it. So we don't select any option here. We'll talk about this option when we're going to talk about the task topic. We'll come to this again. But as of now, you just need to know we need to create this task. But in detail, we're going to cover the task, different kind of tasks which we do have. So what I'll do, I'll just click on save here. So now this task is present here under task. So you can see here at aggregate HR people user. So right click, execute in background. So this task has been executed. I'll come to task results. So then aggregate HR people users. So what it's saying, it triggered at this time and it's a success. Once I click on this one, we can say application scanned is the HR people. This is the application name. Account scanned is 10 and identity created is 10. So 10 user has been created in Sailpoint. If I come here in identity warehouse, I can see now the count is 21, right? Earlier it was 11. So now what happened? So earlier total account was 11. So now these account has been created here. We can see here abc1.xyz, right? So this was the account created just now in identity. So under this is I was when I was initially in my first class, so I was saying identity cube, right? So this is identity cube for that user. You can see any details related to that user here itself. So this is the identity attribute, so, but this is not the actual thing, right? If you I'll 5 values here, but we don't see the same value here, right? Sorry, here
Okay.
we don't see first name, last name, everything we can't see here, right? So
Yeah,
it's a
that was about to
identity.
ask.
What?
Yeah, that was I about to ask.
Ah, great. So basically, this is just these are identity attribute. So as of now, we have onboarded that user here, but that mapping is somewhere missing, right? So that how application is working with identity, that is missing. We'll work on that. But before that, I'll show you other things. So the user which we have onboarded or any application which is related to this one. So we'll see here under application account. Okay. Under application account, we can see HR people. This is nothing but the representation of the target system account. Okay. So here we can see here at email, first name, last name, type, and display name. Everything we can see here, right? It is present. This is the target representation. It's not identity IQ representation. We can have 50 fields here, which is, let's say, SAP system do have 50 fields, but out of those 50 fields or 50 columns, only 10 or 20 are useful for us. So what we'll do as a part of schema discover, we'll put all the 50 things here, but when we're gonna do the mapping for these fields, so this is something important for Sailpoint. So this could be only 20, right? But here we can say 50 because this is a representation of target system. This is not identity IQ. So even if you see here 10, 15 different systems, okay, so one of them HR people, and we can see Active Directory as well. We can see service now. So those are different target system. So that's a target system representation. People generally get confused who are new to Sailpoint or any item tool. So it's very difficult for them to understand what are these things here. But don't get confused. Any question, please ask me now itself. Attribute is something related to Sailpoint user data, but this is the target representation. So how the data is going to look like in the target system. This is the target data. We are just pushing it here. We are just seeing that view. Okay, we don't need to go to target system. Okay,
Okay.
so now
Uh,
what?
if my understanding is correct, so attributes is something uh, the user's data, complete user's data will be there. Um,
Mhm.
Correct. So application accounts is something the user's details in the application is available here. So can I take it like
Right.
that?
Yeah, right. Absolutely correct. So I'll give you one example. So we are talking about HR people application, right? So this one do have, let's say, three fields only: email, first name, and last name. Okay. Now we have one more application which is HR contractors. The HR contractors do have field type equal to employee, right? And display name is also there. So now two applications are there. One application have only these three fields, and the other application do have these two fields. So, but we need all the five fields, right? So, so in attribute you will see all the five fields, but here you will see three fields are coming from this application and two fields are coming from this application. Okay. So that's how we are talking about from the source point of view, but target is also going to be a little different. Okay, so now our next step is we can see here this application is there. We want to do the mapping. We want to make sure all these first name, last name, these should also be populated here. Okay, so uh, to achieve it, what we're gonna do, we again gonna come to the global setting like we talked in the first session. We will keep on coming here. uh, we'll click on global setting. Again, we'll come to identity mapping. So identity mapping is the key factor where we're going to talk about each. So this is the identity attributes. So whatever you were seeing here, right? These attributes. So these attribute you can map it from here. So first name, last name, and this one, like email and all. So under first name, I'll just come here first name. So how this should be populated? I'll say add source. So already we have one source edit as HR employee application. So I'll add one more source. So select application HR people, select an attribute. It's a first name. So first name should get updated in the first name field of identity attribute. Click save and then save it here. I'll do the same way for last name.
Actually, Vinay, just one clarity. I was thinking like the identity attributes, which is something pulled from HR source. Because, for example, if 500 people is joining the company, that that entire 500 people's data will be reflecting in the identity attributes, whether they have any access to the application or not. So that doesn't matter because it's pulling data from the directly from the HR portal, right?
Yeah, that is correct. So if HR system do have 500 users, so we need to see all the 500 users, not in identity attribute, but in identity, basically identity warehouse. We should see those identities, right? So let's say if we were having 10 identities before, so once we do onboard the HR system, we should see like 500 users if we have onboarded. So 510 total number of counts should be 510 under identity warehouse, and we should see identity attributes for those users. Email first name, okay, I have done it. So what else is pending? So we'll say type. If we are doing add source, saying okay, so let's see. What is the issue? Let me check once. We'll try one more time. Come to HR people, then type it. We will see to it later. I'll just check it out. What is this error? But this is not relevant. Maybe we have to refresh this page, then it should go away. Maybe that's the problem. Let me just quickly try. But if it's not going away, then we'll park this thing and then we'll see later. Okay, it's not going. So maybe I'll see to it. Most probably it's the same thing. Refresh. I'll just reload this data, then it should go away this error. But we'll see that. But as of now, we'll just go ahead with this data, whatever we have configured as of now. So now identity mapping is there, right, for these fields. So we should,
So
if we have, yeah.
sorry, Vinay. So I think email sometime, we use it as a unique identifier when we are trying to match from different applications. So what
Mhm.
you're I probably missed it. So what you're trying to, are you trying to rename it or what?
No,
Why?
no, no renaming actually. We were just going for the type attribute, but it is not going to go for the identity mapping. But
Can
I
you
think
please do
it's,
it again?
yeah. So that's not the thing actually. I'll just restart will help actually once we restart. I think it's correlated
Restarting
with the
what?
old mapping. Like this application, if you restart this, because last attribute which you configured was the email. So somehow it is thinking we are working on the email field. So it's saying we can't reuse the same field, although we are not working on that field. Yeah, it's saying attribute name email is required and cannot be renamed. The attribute name email is required and can be renamed. So it's saying email field is
Can you
required.
scroll down, please? Okay.
But that should not be a problem. I know I have seen this error in the past as well. And sometime because just before type I was working on email, so it's assuming in the background it's a email thing. So we'll see that
Attribute name
tomorrow.
type. Where I've seen this.
So for now, let's go to this thing. Basically, we want to see all these fields now, right? So there's another task which is named as identity refresh cube. So identity refresh cube is basically refresh all the things, whatever we have taken care as of now. Identity mapping we have changed, right? So we want to refresh these identities. So this is again out of the box task, which is for a Sailpoint. So any kind of refresh which is required on the identities, it is taken care by this. We'll talk about this task, which is again very important once we'll come to the task section, where there are many different attributes which you can see here, right? So all of them are important and we'll cover it up in another subsequent sessions. So for now, I'll just click on save and execute. So it will execute in the background. So now we're going to check this task has ran at 9:50. Okay, identity examine 21. So if you come here in the warehouse, we can see for this user, like for all the users actually, this thing has been updated. First name, last name, and this email address, right? Whatever you're looking for. So this has been taken care for all the employees, whatever one we have created. Okay, so this is the generic step which we need to follow always while we're going to do the onboarding of any application. Okay, any questions as of now?
So when we gonna
Yeah,
look into this, the error what we have got, how you rectified it? So I think it's really gonna
Let's
help us
try.
in debugging sometime, like in live environment or when we will be working on Sailpoint.
Okay, let's try right away then.
Hmm.
If there's no other question, then we'll proceed to this one.
You can ask other if they got a question.
but I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
First name, last name, right? So I came
Yeah.
to identity mapping. Before email, I did update first name and last name only. So here you see first name, right? Under first name, I came here and add the same way source here. Okay, so same way, like the way you were seeing for email, right? I came to email field and then I add the source. So like from application, it will come to identity attribute. So same way, first name and last name was also done. You can see here, right? Mapping is there, first name and last name.
Yes.
So let's come to type now. Identity type, string, this thing is fine. We'll do source, HR people, sorry, email, not email, type add. Okay, this time it didn't give any error, right? So, okay, save, is it? Save time. Oh, no error, right? So that's what I was saying last time, Sandeep. See, right? There's no error. So I just
Hmm.
close this browser and you can see there's no error came. So
So
sometimes it
why
keep
this
on buffer.
happen? Why these things happens? Was the
So
reason?
yeah, so I was telling you, right? It keeps on the buffer. So what happened before the type? I was working on the email. So now I worked on type.
Hmm.
So when gonna work on the next attribute, sometime cache creates a problem,
All
and
right. Okay.
it was thinking I'm still working on that email attribute, and it was saying email
Maybe the
is
refreshing time, maybe
yeah,
for
but
issue
it's
the
not
refreshing
always
time.
yeah, but it doesn't happen always. I have seen like I have done it many times. It's not like always you're gonna see this, but very rarely we see this kind of situation. But now you can see type is also there. So now again, if you see here, that's a good example now. So if you click on this one, we don't see type is populated. So what is the next step we should do? Can anyone tell me? So why now type is not present, although we have done the identity mapping, how to get this value? Although this thing is
Yeah,
present
you need to
here.
refresh the cube again. You need to do the identity refresh
Yeah,
task.
right. Awesome. So again, we're going to do the refresh. So we'll come here, identity refresh cube, execute in background. Once this is done, 954, this is done. We'll come here, warehouse, we'll come and check. It's present now here, right? So that's how each and everything, whatever you're gonna
Hmm.
modify in Sailpoint, every time you need to execute refresh. So refresh is something we are not going to execute in the real world scenario every time we're gonna come to task and we're gonna execute. It is always going to be automated. So we're gonna configure the schedule jobs. So based on schedule jobs, it's keep on running after some time and make sure system is up to date. Whatever configuration we are going to make changes, it will implement at the same time. Okay, so that's how this thing works. Any questions, anyone?